very much for coming here. I see that you're not subscribed. You should definitely do it. Why? Because if you don't, I'm going to beat you like you're on a fishing trip with your father. That's right, we're getting violent now. Welcome to Behind the Boards podcast, episode 3, Draft Day, the sequel. It has been a wild ride since the last episode. There's been a lot of trades that has actually gone down that I'm surprised. I mean, the Leafs is primarily what I want to focus on. I don't know about you guys. I'm very interested in this conversation right now. I think there's a lot of people talking about it, and I definitely have some opinions that some of you know, some of you don't. But before we get into that, I just want to say Ron Francis did it again. My boy Ron Francis did it again. Washington Capitals lost nothing in this expansion draft. They said, "Oh, you have Vitek Vanacek? We're just going to take him right back. He's ours. He's ours." So, what do you guys think is going on there? I mean, they got Philip Grubauer. Obviously using Chris Drieger now is useless. They got, two other fairly big names, I guess, if you want to call them big names. If I'm 100% honest, I don't even remember who they are. But yeah, what do you guys think about all that?
Well, I was under the impression that they were going to run with Drieger and Vanacek, give these two the net. And then in my opinion, I feel like they saw that Grubauer just happened to make it to free agency, and they're like, we can't pass up on this. We've got $30 million in cap space. Why the hell not? So then they just scooped him up. They signed him. And then they called Washington and was like, yo, so remember that goalie we took from you? I know you guys used him a lot last season. So how about we give him back to you for a second-round pick? That's my opinion, at least. I feel like that's what happened. But I don't know.
I mean, that would make sense. What about you, Taylor? What are you thinking?
I don't know. I expected a lot more from this team coming after their expansion draft and seeing what they put out on the table. I thought yesterday was going to be the big day of just signing everybody or getting anybody they could get their hands on. I mean, I expected a lot more. I mean, Grubauer is obviously the biggest signing for these guys, but other than that,
they signed 3 people:
Jaden Schwartz, Alexander Wenberg, or Weinberg.
Wenberg.
I think that'd not be a bad signing. I heard he's pretty decent.
But the thing is, right now your star player is Grubauer.
Yeah.
They have I'm not going to say very. They have a relatively rounded out top 9 set of players that would be really good players on everyone else's second or third line. I feel like anybody else's first line kind of beats Seattle's with what they have now. But I believe that their first line, second line, and third line are going to be pretty comparable to every other team's second and third lines.
Yeah. Yeah, I don't know. I expected a lot more coming out of...
And they still haven't signed Vince Dunn or Dennis Cholowski. Yeah. They've got a bunch of RFAs on defense that they can still sign or even trade. Yeah. But I definitely I was absolutely expecting more out of Seattle when it came to yesterday and today, but nothing's really blew me away.
Yeah, no, especially with that much cap.
One team I find that's pulling some moves is no one, actually. They really have it's the weirdest thing. I don't even know how to explain it. This is the most active like when I look at the trade tracker, or like you know, see who's been signed. I mean, it's not like it's crazy. Like it's getting like I mean, there's a lot of players that were available, but the teams that are like obtaining them are also doing like weird moves. I think there's like this very small handful that are making the right moves. I think Tampa is one of them.
Oh my
I think
god.
Julian Brisbois is handling this minimum amount of cap space that they had very well. Actually, I think we lost some fairly decent players, but we made some very good financial moves. I think another team that's doing fairly well, but they're very slow on the trigger with Tarasenko, is St. Louis. Um, I don't really know who else. I'm pretty sure New Jersey won the free agency with getting Dougie Hamilton.
Yeah, they got the
I
big
f-
fish, and now they've got the only thing that I can really think of when it comes to New Jersey at this point, when it comes to them possibly losing, is now you've got two defensemen on the books that are making $9 million for the next year in PK and Dougie. But other than that, like you've got like these guys aren't that bad. Like PK's 32, Dougie's 28. Then you've got Severson and Graves at 26 each, and then you've got a couple young guys down the wings as well. So there's definitely plenty of mentorship there, but I think that PK's 9 million is definitely gonna make them struggle a little bit. But they still have 22 million in cap space.
Yeah, I think
yeah,
PK is going to be gone. I think that there's going to be a trade to happen with him. I could just feel it. I don't know.
I honestly feel it too. From what I have like seen over the years and what I've read about him is that he's a fantastic player. He has very good defensive awareness, but he's a horrible teammate, and I feel like he has a pretty negative effect. I like his personality. If I'm being honest, I thought him on Montreal
Him on
was
Montreal was
fantastic to see.
amazing. It was
Yeah.
if there was one reason why I would even watch a Montreal game was because of PK. The
I'm the same
chemistry,
way.
the chemistry, and like the just the way that him and Price kind of acted with each other. It was just
It was perfect,
that was
and the way he
amazing.
interacted with the fans, all the
Yep.
stuff he did underneath the media without anyone knowing, like it just kind of sucks how I like you hear about that. And another one too, Tony D'Angelo,
Oh
which
God.
is I don't even understand that whole entire premise. Um, I'm still very confused on this story with him. I've read a couple of things um, in regards to it, but he's a 25-year-old and he's already getting that target that Subban has of being a bad teammate.
He got
And I'm just
punched
I'm just
in the
wondering
back of the head
by
by
the
his
goalie.
goalie. He only played 6 games for the Rangers last year because he was starting crap with the goalie, and then like I know there was an incident with Kevin Miller, who's a person of color who was playing on the Rangers as well. So and that's just starting at the surface, like his whole anti-COVID stuff that he was going on about as well, saying that the
Yeah,
whole
that was
lockdown
weird.
was unnecessary back when it first started. It's just he has some
Very
unnecessary,
weird takes.
yeah, very unnecessary takes that he just. And that's again, as I said, that's just the start of it. There's been some other things that he's done in like back when he was in junior and stuff like that. It goes on and on. And once like he had chances in junior. He had chances in Tampa. He was on Tampa. He was drafted by
Yeah,
Tampa. He had chances on Tampa. They got rid of him. He had chances in Arizona. They got rid of him. Then he had chances in New York, and now they're apparently taking him in Carolina, and that
Carolina.
just puts a whole new um, perspective on the whole bunch of jerks slogan that Carolina kind of was adopting.
Yeah.
Oh, it goes back to even what we were talking about last episode when, Logan, Montreal's prospect there, how what he did and was, awarded being drafted. Like, why do we keep giving these guys second chances? If they're, causing problems in the locker room and behind the scenes, like, why would anybody want these guys on the team? Just it doesn't make sense to me.
They feel like they can rehabilitate him. And like he's got great offensive numbers. He's a great offensive defenseman. He's terrible on defense, but when it comes to offensive output, he's great. And they felt that with the cost of his deal being only $1 million, they were like, yeah, sure,
steal.
maybe we can make him become a better person, and we'll also have this great 25-year-old defenseman on the books for a year to slot into our power play and play games. But I feel like it's not right. You've got this guy who is completely disrespectful, and then you also trade for Ethan Bear off of Edmonton, who just recently experienced a crapload of racism after Edmonton got kicked out in the first round because he's an indigenous person.
Yeah, that.
And so you trade for this like minority, and then this person of minority, and then you go and acquire this guy who has a history of being a just terrible, shitty person. It makes no sense. But our defense is great. I don't give a shit about your defense. This player is a shitty person.
Yeah, that I think
agree.
I think it kind of makes me think as a fan of hockey in general. And Taylor, I'm curious to know what you think, because I know you and I have talked about before where you might not like teams, but you like the players on teams. Like for me, I love watching Tarasenko play. I love watching all of those 91s play, all three of them. I'm a big fan of the three, Tyler Seguin and Stamkos. And
Yeah, screw the other 91.
he wasn't in that time. Was he in that pool?
Who, Tavares?
Yeah, I don't think he was in that pool when the three of them kind of came out. I know it was, if I'm not mistaken, they were either the same year or in succession.
Sagan was in 2011, I believe. And then 2011 or 2012 maybe. And then Stamkos, I think, was the year before, and then I think the year before that was
Yeah, they were in succession
Tavares.
of each other.
Yeah, Tavares was 2009.
Okay, so I guess he is included in that.
Yeah.
But I don't include him in that.
Victor Hedman was in his draft class.
Yeah,
Tavares, Hedman, and Duchesne were the top three of the 09 draft. Sick draft.
Anyway, I mean, if I like now, I'm not a fan of the Washington Capitals, but I'm still admittedly Alexander Ovechkin is my guy next to Tom Wilson. I just love watching Tom Wilson play. I hope he stays healthy for a long time. But my question is, if something came out about Alex Ovechkin that he treated his teammates in the same kind of way, or maybe you actually know what? I don't even want to use Alex Ovechkin as an example for this. I'm just going to say a star player, and you can put whoever you want there. Would you still follow him, or would you want him? Like, would his skill outweigh what he's done, even if it was a couple of years ago, or would you be like, yeah, he needs to leave?
I would still say he needs to leave. This kind of behavior is unacceptable.
What do you think, Taylor?
If it I think it depends on the action of what's happened. Like how severe are we talking about? Are we talking Tony DeAngelo or Montreal's prospect here?
let's say both, or Ray, Ray Lewis or Ray Rice,
Oh, that
like that
that's
that
that's
level
that's done.
that
Like,
level of stuff.
terminate the contract, get out of the league. Like, there's no place for that. Tony D'Angelo. It's a thing with the bad attitude. Being a real shitty teammate and being a big problem. Vander Kane was the same way in Winnipeg. Dustin Byfuglien hated his guts. Those guys did not get along at all. And
Yeah,
guys like that, they don't go anywhere. Like, it's if it's the Logan kid, if that's his, we're talking about that type. Like, no, we talked about it. Like, there's no room for that in the league.
yeah,
You know what I mean?
Well,
Like,
it's like okay, everybody made a whole stink about it back when they were trying to select a captain for the Leafs because it was rumored that Matthews was going to get the captaincy, and then just before it happened, the whole story that happened when he was drunk down in Arizona, and he pulled down his pants in front of a female officer, and then
yeah,
everyone
move
started
him.
calling him Captain
They moved him.
Underpants for a while there.
Yeah.
There's
I-
like these minor situations that happen, and then you get to these more severe situations like Ray Rice or like even like Slava Voinov. I don't know if you guys remember him. He got kicked
yeah.
out of the NHL because of a domestic abuse
Oh
situation.
yeah. Again, that's totally unacceptable. Like, totally deserving on that point. There's no room for that in the league. Like pack your bags, get out of here type thing. Like,
I just think these are severe character issues that should be this is something that starts from parents not taking care of the situation properly. If you're not teaching your kids at a young age that this stuff is unacceptable, then it's just going to keep happening.
yeah.
And this needs to be dealt with.
On that topic, after we talked about the Logan Mayo situation, that same day, Justin Trudeau decided it was a great idea to put his 2 cents in. And great. Everyone has the ability to voice their opinion. He says, as a lifelong Habs fan, I have to say I'm deeply disappointed by the decision. I think it was a lack of judgment by the Canadiens organization, which it really was. But did he really have to say anything? Like, you're a prime minister. You should definitely be focusing on I don't want to demoralize or diminish the issue, but you have a country to run. Let's focus on that.
Yeah.
Yeah, but part of that country is
But
the small man syndrome that Canada has that says, "Hi, we're here too. Don't worry." So like the whole
no,
fact that like
that's not
the
what
Canadians,
Canada has.
the
That's
Canadians,
what
the Canadians
Justin
were
Trudeau
supposed to be
has.
Canada's team. No,
Yeah,
no, the Canadians are the Canadians. The Maple Leafs are the Maple Leafs. Vancouver Canucks are the Vancouver Canucks. There's no Canada's team. We need to get over it.
No.
yeah,
But with the whole Trudeau situation, I understand where you're coming from, where he doesn't need to put his input in, but it's nice to have.
it is nice to
guess.
have.
And I think it also could be used as a minor, because I know there's an election coming up next year. It'll
Yeah.
be a good thing for him to have, like, hey, I said this about this situation.
Yeah, but he's not. I don't even want to get into the whole Justin Trudeau situation,
No,
but
we're not getting into
my-
politics here. Like,
my whole thing is the situation got blown out of proportion, and it's not that, well, maybe blown out of proportion is the wrong word.
that is
It
the
got-
wrong way to
it
say
got-
it. But.
It got shifted to the wrong issue, and now it's all about him. It's all about Logan. It's not about the victim now. And yeah, I mean, I just well, I've already spoken on it.
Well,
But-
you also saw like after we released that after we talked about it too, the owner Jeff Molson spoke about it too, and he
Yeah.
at least brought up the victim in his statement and whatnot, but it was still not a very good. I don't know. I don't want to talk about it anymore. It's just because like it pisses me off. This whole situation with Logan Mailloux and the whole situation with Tony D'Angelo. It's a bunch of crap that shouldn't be in the league, but unfortunately it is. And until some sort of culture change happens or some sort of adjustment happens, I don't think it's gonna really change much.
Yeah, and you know what? I'll speak to directly to parents when I say this. Your kid ain't shit. Your kid is on an you know bantam A hockey team. Relax, relax. Give the kid some discipline. You know, I can name four people right now that I will not name that I know very well, that I'm pretty sure Taylor knows very well, that could have used some of that discipline. We've both been around this, this kind of scene for a while in our high school life, high school careers, and this is a very small percentage, but they have an impact on everyone. And I think parents need to really understand that your kid ain't shit. He's a kid. Parent him. Parent him. Teach him. If my dad or my mom or even like uncles knew if I did something like with that Logan Mayu kid, well, let's just say I wouldn't be here right now talking to you guys about Logan Mayu. And that's all I'm going to say on that. On to the next thing, and I want to briefly touch on it, is Vitek Vanacek going back to, or not Vitek Vanacek, sorry. What's it called? Totally lost my train of thought here.
Nice.
Yeah. Um, the Bogosian trade. That's what I wanted to say. Bogosian going back to Tampa.
Oh, that
Um,
yeah, the signing there.
and his statement. I got confused with Vitek Vanacek going back. Too many people going back. But he said something that I think is very important about the Toronto Maple Leafs organization, which is they just get it. And
You mean the Tampa Bay organization?
the Tampa Bay organization, yeah, that's what Bogosian said about Tampa Bay Lightning.
Yep.
Sorry. Um, and I think that speaks volumes of the management situation there. And I think for me, that solidifies that there is a big issue with management there. Personally, if
In
I,
Toronto?
yes, Toronto, if I was the Toronto Maple Leafs owner, um, I wouldn't have even kept him for this year. And you can tell, for me as an outside, as a sports fan, not as a Toronto Maple Leafs fan, looking at what kind of moves that the Toronto Maple Leafs have done so far, it looks very much like a person that's going to be leaving next year. And I'm curious to know what you guys think about that. Do you guys think, and this is something that I was thinking of during that time when I saw the the article from Bogosian saying they just get it, talking about the Tampa Bay Lightning. And I was thinking, if the Toronto Maple Leafs was the entire roster of the Tampa Bay Lightning, if every single person on the Tampa Bay Lightning from last season that won the cup was on the Toronto Maple Leafs, would there have been that much of a difference? Or is there something about Toronto now where it's just absolutely cursed. I'm at a point where I feel like it doesn't matter because I feel like there's too much money getting thrown out that players just want to go there to get money to get paid
That's the problem.
to leave. I feel like there's way too much money getting tossed out, and I feel like that's affecting the players. So when I ask if you think the entire Tampa Bay roster was on that team, was the Toronto Maple Leafs, sorry, do you think they could have won the cup? Or do you think that the management is so impactful and so detrimental to how poorly the boys are playing on the Toronto Maple Leafs that you think they still would have lost?
I don't think it has to do with the management affecting the players themselves. I think it completely has to do with the players that are on the team.
Okay, explain.
The only thing that I believe is when it comes to the management affecting the team, it all has to do with the contracts. If the contracts were not as much as they are, then
Would that
Kyle.
be would that not lie down on Kyle Dubas, which would be management?
Yeah, but that doesn't affect the way that they play. That just affects the way that they are able to sign other players.
Yes, but again, if Mitch Marner wasn't offered the $10.9 million that he has, which I want to point out, still getting paid more money than Braden Point.
Shut the fuck up.
And Ovechkin.
And Ovechkin, which Ovechkin has never been paid more.
No.
By the way,
Ovechkin actually took a pay cut with this
yes,
extension by
he
like
did.
$50,000 a year.
It doesn't matter though.
It's still a pay
That
cut.
still adds up. That still adds up. That's still a pay cut.
It's so frustrating.
I tweeted it yesterday. The more and more I look at this Tampa Bay roster, the more I hate the Toronto Maple Leafs.
Yeah, this whole thing, like the point contract compared to Marner, it's so embarrassing. It's honestly embarrassing. And first of all, I look at it as the players are responsible for what they do. I think what they did in the playoffs was absolute dog shit. Like, that should have not even happened. There's no excuse for what that result was, should ever been with what we have. Then I go to the coach. Okay, well, look at what happened in the playoffs. Keefe was very stuck on the Marner-Matthews duo that he thought magically that they would just find a way to pick it up and break out of the slump. Maybe
So stubborn.
3 or 4 times during that whole series that they tried a shift or two with different guys.
There
didn't
was only
work.
a couple times where they brought Nylander up to the first line and swapped. But the more and more I watched the past 2 playoffs, the more and more I kind of get that Babcock was right in keeping Matthews and Marner separated.
Yeah.
I will still say, and I'll still stand by it, getting rid of him was the worst decision in a long time. I don't think getting rid of him. When I look at the difference between these two coaches, I think of someone that was with a team for a very long time, that was very successful with that team. And then I think of a guy that has just started. And I also, like I've mentioned before, I think he was only fired because of the fans. I think there was just so much backlash. And I really believe Babcock should have not been fired. Granted, he wasn't producing results. But
Yeah.
I think that lies on, again, management. I think Babcock probably could have done more to encourage the boys. I feel like, the camp that runs the forwards, the camp that runs the defense, like your guys, I really believe, and I've believed this for such a very long time. Mrazek did very decent. I would say above decent last season, and I feel like it's not going to matter for you guys. You guys have one player that really cares, in Morgan Riley, and he's probably not returning. I think the next one down would probably be T.J. Brody or maybe Jake Muzzin. But I watch him play, and I'm like, how are you letting the puck by so many times? Like, you just leave it up to Freddie Anderson or Jack Campbell. But
Here's the thing is our defense last season was not the problem. Our goaltending last season was not the problem.
Yeah.
it was the team.
It was the offense.
Yeah. The guy's getting paid
Aside
the most
from
money.
William Nylander, you got 3 goals out of Spezza, 1 out of Hyman, who's gone, by the way. Adios, amigo. Bon voyage. Enjoy Ed Money.
Yeah, gone. The hardest working guy on that team is now there's nowhere
now
to replace
Nylander.
that.
And now who's
Nylander,
going
yeah.
on? Who's going on that wing? Who's going on the wing?
Yeah.
Who's going to be on the left of Mitch and Matthews? Because I know for a fact, and I'm gonna personally drive to Toronto and find Keefe if it happens. But you know for a fact that Marner and Matthews are going to be on the same line again next year. Who's going to be on their wing? Kerfoot?
Better not be Mikheyev.
Bunting?
Mikheyev.
I swear to God.
I hate this team.
They've even their signings were just it's just not good. I mean, a lot of Leaf fans I've seen are just really not happy with what the results have been, and talking about Dubas and having his mistake. I think his mistake was giving JT 11 mil per year, which handcuffed us for the next 4 years. For sure.
I said when that signing happened that this was unnecessary. We had Kadri,
Yeah.
who was a decent second-line center. He would have been fine behind Matthews. And then we could find a third. We could have even still acquired Kerfoot for something else. But we could have easily not signed Tavares and been just as fine, if not better. We would have been able to keep Hyman probably.
Yeah.
And I would rather run this team back with Hyman on the team and Kadri than at this point, because at least we'd have some flexibility. And also at that point, too, the Tavares signing gave Matthews and Marner some sort of leverage to demand what they got.
Yeah, it's so stupid.
And they shouldn't have gotten it.
They shouldn't have gotten it.
It's way
Like, even
too
Austin
much.
Matthews should not be paid, what is it, 11.5, 11.6
11.6.
Yeah.
He should not be paid that much money. He should not be paid that much money. Tavares, steep, but I can understand why you would pay him that much money. But Matthews and Marner are very young players that are like, okay.
What did they do?
when
What
I'm
did they
done
do
now-
in their first 3 seasons
To earn it, nothing.
to earn it? Lose in the first round every damn time.
Or lose in overtime. Didn't Austin Matthews score 4 goals his first game but lose? Didn't you guys lose also
Yep.
that game?
Anything
Yeah.
that goes good for the Leafs always has a loss at the end of it. Yep, 3-1, losing game 7.
Yeah. Should never happen. It's
But back to my original question, though. Do you think the Tampa Bay Lightning roster could have made a difference? Do you think then that they would have?
Yes, absolutely.
so you're saying so the question is Tampa Bay Lightning's roster as the Toronto Maple Leafs.
Yeah.
If literally they change the crest on the jersey
Oh,
from
that's
a
it.
bolt to a leaf.
It's back-to-back cups, the
It's it.
same result.
See, I'm convinced it wouldn't be. I think that you guys, I really don't. In my mind, maybe I'm cynical. Maybe I'm looking at this as a business mindset. I think the way that the team is being run right now is so bad. I think all of this comes down to management because the players have no. There's there's one thing that I always loved to talk about, and that's imagine playing with Alexander Ovechkin. Imagine playing with Wayne Gretzky. Imagine playing with LeCavier in St. Louis. Those would be. Imagine playing with Patrick Waugh. Imagine playing with, you know, those big names. I'm sure we can name a whole bunch more. No one cares on this team because there's no enthusiasm. How come Tavares straight facing all the time? I'm very I'm I mean Taylor, you and I talked about it. I want to see this Amazon series so
Yeah, me too.
freaking bad. I need to know. I'm not even a fan and I'm getting pissed off right now thinking about this. Who talks to the players when you are down like that? When you get so close and then it's gone.
Yeah,
Who talks to the
who?
players?
Yeah, who's the one
Sheldon
speaking up?
Keefe? Exactly. It can't be Sheldon Keefe. If it is, I'd be surprised. And if it is, no one listens.
Thornton?
It's definitely not. It's definitely not Tavares. It could
Nah,
be Morgan
he wasn't even
Riley.
there.
It could
Yeah.
be Morgan Riley. It could be maybe Matthews. But the problem is they're so young that I feel like it wouldn't matter. You need someone. You need someone that has that kind of oomph. Yeah, sure, you can say Austin Matthews is a great goal scorer. He is. He's a great goal scorer, but he has so much learning to do, and I feel like he's on a rougher path than Ovechkin was to get where he is. Ovechkin was told, and so many people said, he's a one-man show. That's why he'll never win the cup. And Ovechkin saw that. Barry Trotz was the first head coach that didn't give a crap who he was. Benched him multiple times for missing practice, missing camp, talking back. Benched him. I remember he was benched one season almost like 4 or 5 times. Didn't play. I don't care who you are, sit down, shut up. You're going to learn how to play as a team. And he did. He went to Wayne Gretzky, said, "What do I got to do? What do I have to do?" There's a 45-minute video of the two of them talking about it, getting interviewed by someone by, I believe it's either Sports Center or TSN. It was very enlightening. I don't think no one has that enthusiasm on this team. Everyone's too young. When you have a star player like that goes, "What do I need to do? What else do I need to do? I'm scoring 50 goals a season. I'm going farther and farther and farther in these accolades, but I cannot pass either the New York Rangers or the Pittsburgh Penguins in the second round. Who do I need? What do I need to do?" And no one is asking that question on the Leafs. It's definitely not Austin Matthews because he does not care. Why would he care? And like I said, the reason why I believe this lies down completely on management is the management's there to teach these kids. The camps are there to teach these kids all of this. I've talked about it before where there's history on Montreal Canadiens. Those players will come in and talk to them. That's huge. Same thing with Tampa Bay Lightning. You know, who who is Austin Matthews going to talk to? He's the best player that the that the Toronto Maple Leafs have seen in so long. He's arguably one of the best players in the league. Top 5 easily. Top 3, you could fight on it. Who's he need to talk to? Sundin? Yeah, buddy, I'll break your record in 2 more years. Have a seat. I'm making 11 mil. What were you making on the team? Who he hasn't worked for that money. Granted, Ovechkin produced when he first came in the league.
Yeah, everyone talks about how like in the first like 5 years old, like Ovi didn't like get
He had
past
one of
like
the
the whatever get
he
past
had
whatever round, but he produced in the playoffs
yeah,
at least. That's the whole
and he
thing. Is he at
also
least
had one
produced?
of the best first shifts that the NHL has ever seen. And that's what I'm curious on, right? That's what I'm thinking. That's that's what I need to know. Why were these players given this much money? Mitch Marner is making Carey Price money. More.
And
He
Carey
makes
Price got that contract.
$400,000 more.
Carey Price
And
got that contract after
after
he won some stuff. He proved
exactly.
himself. Even if it wasn't in this league, he still proved himself.
So
Whether it
this is
was
what I
in the
mean.
Olympics, the World Juniors,
Exactly.
the
Yep.
World Championships,
Yep.
even just getting through a couple rounds every once in a while, he proved himself before he made that 10.5.
Exactly. Vasilevsky, kind of the same situation. In my opinion, he's the hardest working player on the Tampa Bay Lightning. Humble. When he finished that game, the last game, he said he still has a lot to work on. I have so much. This guy just won the Conn Smythe, and he's saying he has to work on more. You, that is a champion. That's a champion's mindset. There's not a single. I don't see a single person like that on the Maple Leafs. That's a goalie, and that's what I mean when I say it lies on management. The money was handed out for no reason.
Marner hasn't scored in the playoffs since he got his new contract.
And also, too, I know you guys like Kadri. And Taylor, I know you were a big fan of Kadri. I used to really like Kadri solely because you did.
Huge fan of Kadri.
As as I matured and got older, instead of watching hockey as much as I would say as much as you, because I know you watch it. I mean both of you. Again, I've said it before and I'll say it again. I don't think I'm at the level of a fan of both of you. I also, if I was still a Washington Caps fan, I think I could probably be. But there's a lot of games that I miss. Blame that on ADHD or blame that on me wanting to do something different. I don't know. But at the end of the day, I don't watch every single game. I can't. Um, I'm also like other sports too. But there was so many times where Kadri is lollygagging back to the back to the bench. No one has any hustle. No one had any hustle. No one still has no hustle. I just want to point out that Blake Coleman looked at the clock, saw 5 seconds left, and went, I can get a goal. I want to point that out. Who do you have? Who do you have? That guy was making a
did either of you
fraction.
guys see the clip of Marner during the playoffs this year where he could have easily thrown a hit and gotten the puck, but he just turns away and skates to
Well, Taylor brought
the
that
center
up.
of ice?
Taylor brought that up, saying that no one's throwing their bodies around or like no one is putting their effort in. Because why? At the end of the day, I'm going to go home in my $10 million mansion. Maybe even more than that because you live in Canada, and especially in Ontario, and then Toronto. What's the point? You're going to go home, eat a $700,000 steak, and go to sleep. You got, you got nothing. They've hit their ceiling already. There's no. This is what I mean. These players on any other team would not be making this much money, first of all. But when they get traded, which I'm expecting, or when something happens, like their contract's up, if they don't get less money, I'll be very surprised.
If
But
any of
they're
these guys are going to get traded, $100 it's going to be Nylander.
going to be Marner.
It
No, I
I
don't
think
won't be
it's
think.
going to be
Nylander. It
Nylander.
won't
I
be
don't think.
Nylander.
I don't think you guys are going to get rid of Nylander. I think
I don't
Nylander
know.
proved himself. I think Nylander proved himself, and I think if I'm being 100% honest, and this is as a non-fan of the Leafs, I think Nylander right now is your best player.
Oh, 100%. Listen, I totally agree.
Nylander being traded is not a big enough shakeup in that locker room to actually matter.
But that's the issue. Neither is Tavares, and neither is Matthews, and neither is Marner, or neither is
I
Marner.
don't know. Someone's got to tell me. I got a hunch about that. Just seeing what this team was in the playoffs, like they're not ever wanting to split up Marner and Matthews. Like they're basically making almost the same money. The odd man out. They're obviously not going to get rid of JT. Like the odd man out has got to be Nylander. Like he's again best contract on this goddamn team. Like I said it many times before. This guy is literally been the best player this past season and in the playoffs, but this is how the Maple Leafs work. They like to get rid of the most non-reasonable fucking assets here. Like,
Well, this is what I mean in terms of management, and another way I can prove it is by what I'm going to say. You have a 38-year-old, $750,000 player outshining your top 3 forwards. Why?
yeah, I don't know.
Why?
Well, because it's
Why
Spezza
is
cares.
why is
That's
Jason?
the thing.
Why? But that's what I'm saying. Who are these players playing for? Are they playing for money, or are they playing to win? Are they playing for the contract, or are they playing? Are they playing it out?
I haven't seen the Matthews Mitch, you know, coming out in the playoffs and seeing like they're trying to make a difference. Like the only guy I've ever remember was Naz. Like Kadri, like he cared because he that's why they traded him, because he got too pissed off because nobody else was doing a fucking thing, and he went in there and threw up some massive hits and got suspended for it because the league didn't like it, and then the Leafs got fed up because they think that cost them. Well, tell your players to start caring. Start throwing the body around.
He was one of my favorite players, especially in the 16-17 series against Washington. I think it was like the first home game that we had. I remember standing in Maple Leaf Square and seeing Kadri just lay out Ovechkin. And I honestly thought that he dislocated Ovechkin's knee.
He was an animal, that guy, man.
And that hit, like, and the whole crowd just blew up. Like, everybody was like so stoked and so like excited to watch this series continue on and everything. And like, just like, we don't have this kind of heavy hitting. Like, we need to get somebody. And you can't win a Marner trade. No matter what you do, you can't win that trade.
No, he's too much money.
When you do that trade, you're getting Marner off the books. That's what you're doing. You're not doing that trade to get better players. You're doing that trade to get the $11 million off the books to sign other players.
Yeah, but the problem is, you'll probably end up in a better state than you are right now, which is hilarious. There are so many more players, 4.5, 5.5, 6 million even, that are worth more than him.
If we could have traded Marner, we could have signed Landeskog for 7.5 over 7 years, and
who would take that contract though? That's why no one wants him. I wouldn't be surprised if Dubas shined Marner at a couple teams. Detroit,
Arizona.
That
would just be so fitting. Send Matthews' best friend to Arizona. His hometown. Oh man, that would have been so good.
But no one wants to take a $10 million, well, let's just call it what it is, an $11 million contract, even for 2 more years, 3 more years. No one wants that. That's too much money. Actually, now that I'm thinking about it, Taylor might be right. It might be Nylander going because of that reason.
Yeah,
That's
like,
the only thing I can
best
really...
contract would make sense to be moved. He's a movable contract.
No one wants to take a player that cannot perform, that is severely overpaid. Braden Point, and I know people hate me bringing up Braden Point. I know you don't like it. Tyler, but that's
No,
a
I
player
love
that
it.
performs.
I
That's
love
a
it.
player that performs. That's a player that can perform in the playoffs. That does perform in the playoffs, and very well, might I add. 9.5 million. If anyone deserves that 10.9, that's Braden Point. But
He's also a center.
yeah, making less.
Marner is a winger. Mikko Rantanen is not making as much money as Marner. I was thinking about this the other day, actually.
Ovechkin is a left winger and a right winger and a lefty,
I
which
was
is
thinking about
crazy.
this the other day. What team has been successful with a double-digit contract on the books? The first double-digit contract on the books that I remember seeing, I believe, was when Patrick Kane and Jonathan Toews signed their $10.5 million contracts back in 2015. And I remember that was like a lot of money at the time.
Yeah, but
And
they became a dynasty. That's the
that was
difference.
after. That was after their 2015 Cup. Since then, they haven't won anything. The year after that, they got swept by Nashville in the first round. I think they scored a total of 3 goals that whole series or something like that.
Yeah, but
Um,
that's what I'm saying is that's the reason why they got that money. They earned that money. They brought the Chicago Blackhawks
exactly.
up to a dynasty.
Exactly.
Whether they performed afterwards or not, they earned that money. They didn't get that money out of the gate. And Patrick Kane, one of the, I mean, I don't know what you guys think, but I think he's still one of the best goal scorers in the league. I love watching Patrick Kane. Taves, he's another Backstrom for me. Maybe not as of recent,
Well, Taze was
but
injured, and I think he had like COVID or something, and had like severe
yeah,
after effects or side effects afterwards. One
yeah.
thing I wanted to that I want to bring up.
I swear to God, if you bring up Corey Perry,
No, I'm not bringing up Corey Perry, not yet. I'm saving that. This team has 4 players that are making $25 million combined. One of them's a center, one of them's a right winger, and 2 of them are left wingers.
wait, repeat that to me one more time.
There is a team
Boston?
that's making 25 million that's paying $25 million for their top 4 forwards. 2 are left wingers, one's a right winger, and one's a center.
Yeah, Boston.
What team is this?
100% it's Boston.
I would just say it has to be Boston too.
It's Boston.
Yeah.
You've got Patrice Bergeron making 6.875. Patrice Bergeron.
Yeah,
David
he's
Pasternak
arguably
making 6.666.667. Jeez, just make it all sixes. Brad Marchand making 6.125 and Taylor Hall making 6.
Yeah, that was an interesting re-signing, but I'm happy. Honestly, Taylor Hall is on that team. I feel like
It's a good fit for him.
I feel like Taylor Hall will excel greatly at that team. He's
It's
still
a
really
great
young.
fit for him.
And they have Nick Foligno making 3.8 for the next
Oh
2
my
years.
god, yeah, and then they just signed Nick Foligno. So you're telling me the Leafs traded a first and 2 fourths for 7 games of Nick Foligno?
Yeah, pretty much.
Get fucking off it. Honestly, get off it.
This team is exactly what you want the Leafs to look like. You know, that those
There
numbers,
is not a single player making $7 million.
Yeah, everybody's
Bruins.
under 7. That's insane.
You know what I would say to that?
Disgusting.
You know what I would say to that? You want to? I think probably there's a kind of like the similarity with Tampa Bay Lightning.
It's solid.
It's they're going to these players, you know, like Taylor Hall and you know whoever else. I'm sure Patrice Bergeron will get a pay increase next year, but uh,
Are you
I'm
sure
sure
about
that
that? He's only 36. He'll be 37 by the end of next season. He'll probably retire. He'll probably do like a 2-year deal, $7 million max.
I guess we'll see. Who knows? I mean, who knows? But I'm sure they're probably approaching players and going, you know, We want to go for the cup. Are you willing to take a pay cut? We're producing. The team is producing. We're you know, we're doing fairly decent in the playoffs, but we want to be better. Are you willing to take a pay cut?
Absolutely.
Well, these teams are showing that, by everybody taking less, it's more success. Like
Yeah.
Crosby even said, it only works unless everybody else takes less money, and it's
Yeah,
true.
and
Like,
here's what I'm saying. Again, I am sorry, but I have to bring it back. If someone is like, I mean, the fact that Kyle Dubas gave them that much money.
yeah, I don't know.
Why?
I
What?
don't. I don't know what the thought process was at that exact point.
Is it so that they don't leave?
It must be.
What's the
Like, that's
problem?
the only thing.
You have their rights. You have their rights. What are they going to do? Sit there and sign an offer sheet? Okay, thank you. Thanks for the 4 picks, Columbus. Thanks for the 4 first-round picks, Arizona. Whatever team decides to send an offer sheet, say, all right, here you go. Here's this player. Thanks for the picks. Your team's going to suck, and I'm going to have these 4 first-round picks.
Yeah.
Like Nathan
Because
McKinnon.
what team is going to be good after signing or like signing an offer sheet with one of these kids back at the time? If you go back and you look and you say, okay, because I remember there was words back when when we were going through the Marner saga that Columbus was going to offer Marner like a $13 million offer sheet, and if he had assigned that, then Toronto has, I think it's 7 days to decide, or like they have to decide whether or not they want to sign that offer sheet and then have him under that contract, or say, here's the player. Thanks for giving me your 4 first-round picks, and look where the Leafs would have been picking, as well as also being in the playoffs. We would have had 2 first-round picks for the next 5 years or 4 years.
Mm-hmm.
But no, they just gave these players this amount of money, not even thinking about how it's going to completely destroy the cap situation in a couple years. Like, that's my problem down the line. Well, down the line has come, Kyle, and it's time to pay.
See, I think the issue too was also McDavid, and what I mean by that is, I remember, Tyler, you and me watching highlights of McDavid in a
This is Wendy's.
Wendy's. We were talking about McDavid. We were talking about Connor Brown, and that was the last time something like this really, really shook the NHL draft. Every single team was coming out with a statement or something in regards to interest about this kid. And then he gets signed and big money. And I think what probably happened is Matthews went, oh, he went first, I went second. Where's mine?
Well, they both went first. It was just 2 different drafts.
Oh, yeah, sorry. Both went first, yeah. Where's mine? Where's my contract?
And again, I'm going to bring it back to the fact that none of these teams that have double-digit contracts have won anything since those contracts have been signed. McDavid signs that contract. He hasn't won a series since.
No, but I believe they're on their way. Far more in better shape than Toronto is. I believe they're on their way. I really believe that.
I don't know. I think that them signing 2/3 of the right side defense of the 1920 Leafs is kind of a bad idea, but that's just my opinion. I think that Tyson Barrie and Cody Ceci are garbage, especially Cody Ceci.
That one was weird. I will admit.
There's a video that I retweeted today that was literally both of them on the same line when they were playing against Columbus last in the bubble, and Barry passes it over to Ceci. Ceci winds up and shoots and is like a kilometer wide. And so I retweeted it and was like, what in the hell is Ceci shooting at?
Tyson
because it
Berry's
just
appeal is he's right-handed, I believe, isn't he?
Yeah.
yes, both of them are.
Mm, then I don't know what to say about that. But I don't know. I just get the feeling that they're still in better shape than Toronto. Hey, at least what Toronto has going for them, they're in better shape than Seattle, and that's all you could ask for.
Yeah. Yeah, we'll
I
see
think
until
that
playoffs come.
I think that the Edmonton Oilers still are struggling in net, and that's something for them
Oh,
to deal with.
yeah,
I
they
really
should have
think
been the
that
one
signing
to.
of Mike Smith for 2 years at $2.2 million is a joke.
They should have got rid of. I don't even remember who. Was it Mike? No. They.
Koskinen.
Yes. Um. They should get rid of him. They should have got rid of him and signed Grubauer before Seattle did, or
They
signed
should have.
Grubauer and then dumped
They should have also just
Koskinen.
let Mike Smith walk to free agency.
Yeah.
The guy's 39 years old. Do you really think he has another 2 years left in him?
Yeah, it seems
Sure,
a
yeah,
little weird.
he had a really good season last year, but didn't help out that you guys got swept in the first round.
Yeah, I don't know why they weren't more active on the goalie side of things. Wait, are they really relying on Koskinen and Smith? Like,
That's what it
Well,
looks like.
they have another goalie too, but I
They
don't know.
also have Alex Stalock, but all three of their goalies are in their 30s.
yeah, like
They're
mid
older than
30s.
Price, and they're not as good as Price.
Yeah, it doesn't make sense to me.
Makes me so happy with Vasilevsky.
Oh god.
I hate you.
I honestly, I know. I mean, Vasilevsky's story is amazing to me. I love watching him play. I love hearing him talk about just goaltending in general. I absolutely love it, and the fact that the only reason why he's even still here is because Ben Bishop got hurt in 2015, and Vasilevsky outshined him in the playoffs. And then John Cooper was like, "Huh, this is kind of interesting. Let's have him start next season." Bye, Ben Bishop. And the fact that that's how it kind of played out is absolutely hilarious to me. I think it's a very good story. But
So are we moving on from the Leafs? Because I'm kind of done.
yeah, yeah. What I want to talk about is what you guys think
Corey
of.
Perry.
I was gonna bring up Tampa. I need to know. I cannot stand Corey Perry.
I remember you
I,
going on about
I
him like before the
last
series and being like,
week
I cannot stand this guy.
we talked about it, if I'm not mistaken, on the podcast. Where, if I'm at least I think so. This feels very deja vu-ish what I'm about to say. People always tell me, "Oh, you'll love him if he's on your team." Well, guess what? Now he's on my team, and I actually hate him even more. And I don't even know how that's possible. I don't understand what position he fills for this team. And maybe I am out of the loop, but when you look at the Tampa Bay Lightning, do you see a point in our roster where you go, Corey Perry is a great fit? I can't see that. The only thing I can think of is fourth line. He might bring something a little bit different, but he's 36 years old.
You
Yeah,
guys signed him
he
to 2 years.
we signed him for 2 years for $1 million. And keep in mind, we have that Pierre Oudard Bellemare kid. He's 36 years old. He's the same
Edward.
age.
Pierre-Edward
Edward, yeah,
Belmar.
and making the same amount.
Oh my god, and Perry's got a no trade clause too.
Oh my god, I just realized
Yeah,
that.
yeah.
Why? Why is that? I was literally, as you were talking about this, Corey Perry, and 2 years at a mil each. I'm thinking, I'm like, let's see how it goes, and if anything, at the worst comes to worst, they could just trade him at the trade deadline. Nope, he's got a no trade clause, so
Well, a
yeah,
no trade clause doesn't mean that he can't get traded. That just means he gets to pick what teams that he
yeah,
can get traded to. But that's fine.
it still puts
But
like
again,
a
I ask,
pain in the ass for.
when you look at our now, granted, I'm I'm still waiting on, there's still other players that could, I think that could maybe come up. Um, there's one kid in our ELC that I mean he maybe can come up, which is like the Cope kid, or we have another one named Kovic, I believe is his last name. I don't even remember his first name. I think it's Maxim. But like those two kids could have filled that position. We still got to re-sign Ross Colton. I don't know about this Alex Berboulet kid, but when you look at our roster, do you go, yeah, Corey Perry would do wonders in this point in this team.
I think it's just depth at this point.
Yeah, I was gonna say I think he's really just like winger depth, just in case of injuries and stuff. And I mean I know that's what Montreal was going for last season, and kind of helped and kind of paid off for them.
Yeah,
I know there was a lot of there was actually a lot of Leafs fans that I saw on Twitter saying, "Can we sign Perry, please?" But
I cannot stand him for the life of me. I think he is one of those players where he takes the worst kinds of penalties at the worst times.
he has a very punchable face.
That too.
It's not something that he could fix. I want to punch him in the face. Like that scene from Step Brothers. Like, it's literally that scene. Like, it's nothing you can do. I just want to punch you in the face.
I just don't understand. I don't understand the appeal to grab him.
I honestly just think it's depth, cheap. And, he could contribute at certain points. Like, he's not afraid to go to the net, and he works his magic in front of the net. Like, I mean,
and he's not afraid to throw the body.
Yeah,
which is now important. The second oldest player on that team now.
And he's a pest too, so add a little bit of sandpaper to your lineup.
I mean, we haven't had someone like that on our team for a very long time. But like when you think of Tampa, you don't think of someone like Tom Wilson or Corey Perry for that matter, or that one. What's that guy's name that used to play or? He was on the Winnipeg Jets. I think he was the captain. I can't remember. Boulagard. What the heck is his name? Well, unless I'm thinking about someone completely different.
You're not talking about Bufflin, are you?
That's who I'm thinking of, yes.
Dustin
Boulagard.
I don't know, man. It's been a long time. Completely doesn't even sound the same.
It's like a little different language.
But another thing that I would like to get into, that I'm actually interested in getting your guys' opinion, and we were actually supposed to bring it up the last podcast, but it's Ron Francis once again. No,
my god, I was gonna say.
Yo, can we quickly mention Brian Elliott before we move away from Tampa?
Yeah.
You guys move away from one really cheap, relatively old goalie to another one.
Yeah, it was a great move. Hey, Michelini, I can't even pronounce his last name. It throws me off. Michelini. It's like Taylor trying to pronounce domestic Nov. McElhinney, yeah. He won 2 Stanley Cup rings. Let him be.
Did he
retire? He didn't step foot on the ice.
No.
Wow.
I don't.
I like that you guys have some. I also like how you guys have some injured reserve locked up for the next 3 years, and Brent Seabrook too. It's cute.
We're doing it all over again.
Run it back.
Hey, you remember that thing we did last year? It worked pretty well for us.
Yeah, let's run it back. Let's do it again.
Oh, it's great. But what I was gonna say before I made the joke about Ron Francis once again, is getting into this situation with the Blackhawks. What is your guys' take on it? There's been a lot of information that has come out this past little while. I will say the reporting on the Blackhawks situation has been fantastic.
Absolutely phenomenal.
I have to. There's a female writer, and I forget her name, that's been like diving really deep with all this, if I'm not mistaken. It might,
Yeah.
unless I'm thinking about another situation.
No, it is
But
this
I'm,
situation. I can't remember, but there's also Rick Westhead from TSN that's also like
yep,
killing it with the whole
yeah.
situation as well.
I think, I think what they're doing is like the way they're writing their articles is fantastic, leaving the judgment towards the readers, um, and just being transparent with everyone, giving everyone the information. This is, I know we talked about the dynasty of the Chicago Blackhawks, which they very much were. They were on top of their gang. They were on top of their game.
Gang,
um,
gang.
I, I would reckon that the Chicago Blackhawks of that time could have easily beaten the Tampa Bay that just passed, the Bolts that just passed. I feel like they would either be on par or Chicago would have won. They were definitely a force to be reckoned with. And then when you look at what, I don't even want to mention his name because I feel like he's another one of those people where you can throw in that situation with Logan Mailloux and D'Angelo, but in a different kind of category, but far worse with his impact. And I think there's a huge black cloud. I don't even know if that's the right kind of terminology I want to use, but just kind of emasculated over top of that entire dynasty year from 2010. And I think that kind of stuff, like there's one thing with having a tough coach, with having a coach that may be a little bit different in his methods. But there was a story where I read where he either where he allegedly, I don't even know if it's true or not, but where he allegedly hit someone with a baseball bat.
No, it wasn't allegedly. It wasn't a hit. It was a threaten.
Oh, threatened.
He
Sorry.
held up a replica like a Cubs baseball bat that he had up to the plaintiff or the person who was harassed, and then
Yeah.
ended up performing sexual acts towards and on this person. And it's just disgusting. I know probably everybody's already heard about it. I don't really want to get too deep into it
I
because
don't either, but I think it's important
it is something
that
that
we
we should
address.
definitely bring up. I think it's disgusting. I remember reading the description of what happened a few days ago. I think it was Saturday when I came across it, and I was just absolutely disgusted, and just taken aback by the grotesque nature of what happened.
Hmm.
And this is again just another one of those situations where why is this stuff like I can't believe this stuff happened and he was able to get away with it for as long as he did.
I'm really pleased to say that, or I'm really pleased to see, sorry, that the actual organization of the Chicago Blackhawks is kind of being open about all this. Um,
Not really.
in in a certain kind of element, I think.
Very, very, very like I wouldn't say like very well though. I feel like
It's
there's
not very well, but I think it's the best that they can do because there's another situation completely outside of sports with Activision Blizzard having far situations that are just completely uncalled for, and Activision Blizzard just hasn't said anything about it. There's no information coming out of the heads of there, but from the Blackhawk situation, it does seem like they're trying to do what they can around lawyers, which, I mean, you got to protect what you have at the end of the day, which I understand. I just hope.
right, but they could have protected the player 10 years ago when this whole situation
I was
happened.
about to say, I just hope that the player gets what he deserves, in terms of what's the word I'm looking for here? Um,
Justice.
that's the one. Maybe not justice, but I'll go with that one. Uh, yeah, I think it seems when this story broke for me, and I don't want to stay on this topic for too long, but I did want to address it because we haven't. But when this story broke, it kind of seemed to me like it was fake. Like some of the stuff I was reading, I was like, "What?" Like it it blew my mind. It felt like I was watching a soap opera, and there was just people that play hockey in the soap opera, and they needed to figure out a way to get drama. Like it just kind of seems played. Not I don't want to say played up, but it just seems so out of the ordinary. But uh,
Well, I understand what you're saying, but at the same time, with how things are starting to come up more and more, how people are coming out and speaking their mind on like what has happened to them and their own personal experience throughout the sport and whatnot. I feel like it's not even something
done.
that's so different at this point. I feel like there's a lot of more people now saying that this seems to be like a normal thing in the sport, and it just makes me sick. And again, it just ties back to the Logan Mayu situation and all the other situations we've discussed already during these last few podcasts that we've had. This is starting to become more of a character thing and just another situation that, again, it just ends up being the norm. And this should not be the norm for a professional sports league.
No, not when you have so much money at risk. You have your own credibility. You have your own, you know, like your own self-image. Like that's what I don't understand is how people can commit these kinds of acts. Even back then, like there was, I guess there could have always been, like it could have always come out sooner,
It should have came
and
out when it happened.
it should have. But I don't know. I could like with the person with the player that it happened to. There was probably like a lot of disdain. Maybe he was
Well,
scared to come forward,
well, I
which is
mean, it
which is
was
definitely an issue.
probably that was an issue as well. I know that I heard some other situations where after the whole situation happened with the video coach, that throughout practices and stuff the next like year or so, these like players started calling him like the F word and like being completely derogatory towards this player and just completely breaking him down. And like so like this coach literally ruined this player's life and then went on to do coaching at schools and stuff, and now I know he's a registered sex offender, and it's there's so much, and there's so much that goes deep into this story that it's disgusting. That's it. That's all I'm gonna put it as, because like there's no more really I can say other than the fact that it's fucking disgusting, and this is stuff that should not be happening at all to anybody, whether you're male, female, whatever. This type of stuff should not be happening to you. And if something like this has happened to you, any sort of abuse, seek the help that you deserve. Go speak with authorities. Don't let anybody make you feel like you aren't heard.
Yeah, I've just briefly touched up on it, reading through it, and there's no
Sick.
words. There's absolutely no words how absolutely wrong, disgusting this shit is. Like this is just brutal. Like you guys said it pretty well. Like there's just this needs to stop. Like stuff like this, like there's no place for this. Like I don't know. Like I'm speechless. Like this is
Like imagine all the people. Like I just want to point
this
this
is
out.
messed up.
And again, I'm sorry for kind of staying on this topic, but I want to say one thing before we move on. Imagine all the other head coaches that there could have been. Imagine imagine all the other scenarios like this. That I'm sure there's going to be one day there's going to be more information that comes out about a different person or organization within a sport, because now people are starting to realize that they have to come forward and get these issues addressed. And the fact that these specific people are committing these kinds of acts when there's someone that was maybe just considered, and you know it just kind of makes me wonder about the other people that could have been instead of these people. But that is definitely enough of that. Like I said, I did want to touch up on that situation and kind of give our thoughts because we haven't yet. And yeah, I mean, do you guys have anything else you want to talk about, or any other topics that you guys have
I
in the
mean,
back of your heads?
nothing regarding that situation. I just want to bring up too, like, just some things that happened in free agency. Still, I wanted to discuss what you guys felt, how you guys felt about Philip Deneau going to the Kings, because I think it's a great signing for the Kings,
I'm very
especially at
happy with him.
the annual rate of 5.5 million over 6 years. That's great. Now the Kings have themselves a steady second line center to be there while what's his name, Quentin Byfield comes up, and once he comes up through the ranks, he can take over that second and then get into the first line center position as Anze Kopitar slowly comes down the lineup or moves to the wing and whatnot. So there's definitely, like, I think it's a great signing, and I feel like the Kings did a lot of minor plays and minor moves to become a lot better of a team. They still have Quick for another 2 years, which is kind of rough because I don't really think that he's as good of a goalie as he once was. But
No,
but I know that Cal Peterson is a really good goalie that's coming up in their system as well, and that's why they traded Jack Campbell in the first place, because they knew they had Peterson in the wings and ready to go. So I think that I really do think that the Kings could be a surprise team this year.
Yeah,
yeah,
they got a really
I'm
good
very
center
pleased
there.
with Deneau's contract. But what were you saying, Tyler? Taylor?
They got a really good center there. Like I think that adds a lot to their down the middle for them for sure. Because I think Deneau is very underrated, and I think he's one of the best centers in the league for shutting guys down.
Takes a lot of weight off of Kopitar's shoulders too, so he can just be that center who can make those plays and pass the puck to other people while Deneau can shut down people. Right? They haven't
Yeah,
really had a good second line center for a while.
I was gonna say for a long time.
But now that they have Deneau there, they've got that 1-2 punch of Kopitar and Deneau for only 15 million. It's 5 million cheaper than the Leafs, and I think it's a great deal. I think it's a
yeah, that is a good signing.
Great way to have this team coming up, and I would not be surprised if the Kings can make it back into the playoffs this year, especially in that division too. That division's weak.
Yeah, I
Yeah,
could see
it'll
this team
definitely
doing
be
it.
interesting.
Yeah, it's going to be interesting to see what this team does when the season starts.
One team that I definitely want to bring up on your guys' thoughts, because there's been a lot of talk going on right now, and in the case of not really liking the team but liking a player, I'm a big Elias Pettersson fan. What do you guys think is going on with the Canucks? With a lot of the For example, Pedersen coming up on his deal. Bozer is about to come up next year.
Besser, yeah, Besser's coming up next
Bessers.
year, and I do not think that them acquiring Ekman Larson and keeping Myers on. I think what they should have done is when they made that trade for Ekman Larson, I think they should have, instead of getting rid of the contracts that they had gotten rid of, they should have gotten rid of Myers because he has term. And then they should have just kept the guys who were there for one more year. That's what I was saying last episode too. Jim Benning just needs to stop working on free agency. Just leave it alone and don't talk to anybody except for the players he needs to sign. You've got Elias Pettersson here, who's 22. Haven't signed him yet. You've got Ole Ulevi, who's 23. Another really decent defenseman on their back end, who's also an RFA. And to top it all off, 21 years old, Quinn Hughes.
Quinn Hughes.
Still not signed, and you only have $14 million in cap space. I don't know what they're doing.
What do you think Pedersen is worth? Not what he's asking for, but what do you think he's worth?
7, 8.
Yeah, I would say something like that.
I was going to say about 7.5 for me.
Yeah.
Between 7 and 8, I think. Probably
And,
closer to 8.
that number would just piss me off.
Yeah, these guys don't have much room to work with. I mean, 14 mil, and you got 3.
No, they're gonna sign these guys. They're gonna probably sign Hughes to like. They're probably gonna sign both Pedersen and Hughes to like a 3-year deal to push this problem down the road a few years while they have these god awful contracts on the books.
Yeah.
To like some sort of like $6.5 or $7 million deal, each. And then they'll have to trade somebody.
Do you think JT Miller is one of those awful contracts?
No, not at all. He was probably one of their best offensive players on their team last year.
Mm-hmm.
It was probably one of their best pickups too. Was when they got them. I think they got him from you guys. Yeah, they got him from you guys.
Yeah.
And
like
last
JT
year
Miller.
he had 46 points in 53 games. That's a player.
Yeah, he is very good.
He had 72 points in 69 games the year before too. So he's definitely a good player. And but yeah.
What do you guys think about Jake Virtanen being bought out?
Good.
Yeah.
Another problem.
Oh, that was another
needs to
name.
Stay out of the league.
Yeah, that was another name I was trying to figure out when we were talking earlier about the problematics of these guys. Yeah, I mean, oh my God. Like, what are these people doing? He better not get signed by anybody else. That's all I got to say.
I don't think he's going to. I don't think he's going to get bought out.
Think he's done? I haven't heard anything. Has anybody heard anything about that? That background?
No, I heard there was some interest in, ironically, Carolina wanted to pick up D'Angelo and him, but apparently those were just rumors and whatnot. Nothing's been said on that point with Virtanen.
Back on Tony D'Angelo, I do want to say I'm sad about that whole situation because I feel like if he just kind of cooled down, kept his mouth shut, stayed in his own lane, focused on his camp, focused on working out, focused on being a better player than he is. Not that he's a bad player, but just, you always want to get better. I feel like he could be a great defenseman. But, I mean, hey, what the hell do I know? I'm only a person that hopefully many people like, I guess, but I don't really have many issues like the ones that these couple of players we've talked about has announced. But yeah, Virtanen being bought out is definitely a good idea.
How do you guys?
And I don't think he's gonna get picked up by anyone else.
What do you guys think of Fleury being sent, like the reigning Vezina champion, being sent to the Blackhawks for virtually nothing? Virtually nothing.
Vegas hates Fleury. Bottom line, like,
Vegas hates any players that
oh,
are there for longer than 2.5, 3 years.
which is hilarious because they still have people from their expansion.
They only have, I think I was looking at it, they only have 3 players left
3.
from their expansion.
wow. Yeah, I
But I
can't
will
believe
say
that.
again, I will say again, I think I really truly believe that Kelly McCrimmon, is a fantastic GM. He knows what he's doing, and there's a reason why this team keeps making it to the playoffs and going as far as they do. There's a reason for that. So
Well,
them getting rid of Fleury, I don't think is much of a big deal. Can that Robin Leonard guy?
You think he's better?
Fill those shoes. Well, I was gonna say, can he fill those shoes? I don't know.
I don't know.
Should Fleury have even won the Vesna?
no.
No. But that's a whole topic for another day. Or maybe not. Maybe I'll talk about it right now, depending on how mad I get. But again, I really believe that Kelly McCrimmon is a very good general manager.
I mean, he's only been the GM since September 1st, 2019. He was the assistant when they first started.
Yep, and but still,
But he's definitely put together a really decent team.
he's
And
making good moves, good trades. He's keeping the team core together.
he ain't no Ron Francis,
Yeah,
your favorite GM.
my absolute favorite. Imagine interviewing him. Yeah, so who's the player you picked up? Give me a couple. Zach Boychuk.
You know he's picked like other players, right?
Yeah, but no one of significance.
Are you serious? Have you looked at his like drafted list? Dude,
I have, but I'm just being stupid.
like come on. We've got I'm looking at this list right now. We've got Hayden Fleury, who is ironically now on Seattle.
Which is the reason why I think he's on Seattle.
Sebastian
There
Aho,
must be a-
Noah
there must be a
Hannafin.
reason.
There's a lot of good Jake Bean, who's a really good, decent defenseman who
Didn't he recently
got
get
moved.
traded? Yeah.
he just got moved to Columbus.
Either way,
Wow.
there's 4 people, by the way, that are from the expansion that are still on Vegas.
Okay, well,
But the problem
whatever.
is, this is a team that's producing. This is a team that can reel players in. This is a team that
Do
is
you think they
recognizing.
can now? Do you
Pardon?
really think that they can now? Because, like, I mean, they made it to the Stanley Cup Finals in their first year, and then not even a year later, they fired their head coach. And I feel like a lot of their big players they acquire, and then a couple of years later, they send somewhere else.
Not really. They still have Carlson and Marchessault, Peter
Carlson,
Angelo.
Marchessault, William Carrier, and Braden McNabb are the only 4 players left from their expansion out of a roster of 48.
Yeah, but that's just how time goes. I would imagine if it was Ron Francis in the seat, everyone would still be acquired by expansion. Reiterating or regurgitating the same words that Kyle Dubas has been saying for the past
I believe
what
in
seems
this
like
team.
50. Yeah,
Yeah. Famous for that.
Fuck off.
I just,
Fuck you
but-
and your beliefs.
just can't even believe that.
like I said, they understand what they need to do, and they're trying to do it. They're getting close. They're getting close, and I mean, there wasn't really like I'm looking at their trade history right now. Nothing really significant, really kind of.
I don't understand why
happened.
they trade for Nolan Patrick and then they only have 1.7 million in cap space to use to spend on him. They have to move somebody. Maybe they'll move William Carrier.
Yeah, who knows?
That'd be funny. There goes another one. But yeah, I just thought I'd bring up the fact that Fleury got moved into Chicago, and he found out on Twitter.
Yeah, he might not even report. He might just retire.
Yep.
Which probably wouldn't be a bad thing. I mean, it's got a lot of hardware, so it's
But
not like he's missing out on anything.
That's probably why they got rid of him, is because he wants to retire.
Maybe. Who knows?
Well, Chicago
he
needs
is
a goalie.
he is one of the last few. He's 36, if I believe.
Yes.
From what I remember, yeah.
And he's got 1 year left. He's got 1 year left.
And he's kind of part of that Price era. And
yeah, just a couple years before Price.
Yeah.
But yeah, I mean, Chicago did need a
33.
goalie, but Chicago did need another goalie because they only had Kevin Lankinen, who was like a rookie this year. He put up some decent numbers for a struggling Chicago, but
Chicago did horrible this year.
Yeah.
Horrible.
Yep.
Yeah, definitely an interesting setup there. I'm really happy that they have Tyler Johnson now, though.
Yeah.
It'd be good center depth for them.
Well, I think that's about it.
Yeah, I was gonna say, is there anything else you guys want to touch up upon? Like maybe one last thing we can discuss is Freddie Anderson going to the Canes.
Yeah.
The good old boy
like
going to.
I've said it before. I was pretty adamant about it before. Freddie Anderson is not a starting goalie. Freddie Anderson, I don't know. I don't think even on a different team he would be able to outperform the way he played in Toronto.
He's too injury prone. He hasn't been steadily healthy over the past 2 years. And like, I'm not gonna lie, when he first came here, he was killing it. I still remember that paddle save when we were playing Boston that first year on Pasternak, which was just absolutely unreal. But again, I don't really think that him and Ranta, they got Carolina got two injury prone goalies for $6.5 million per for the next 2 years, and I don't know. It's it'll be interesting to see what happens, but I mean,
all I can say is I'm glad he's not
amigo.
on. I'm so glad he's not on Toronto.
Well, they basically traded goalie for goalie, wasn't it? Like, Mrazek here and then Freddie Anderson to Carolina. It's like,
yeah, and we paid less for Mrazek.
Yeah.
But we got an extra year, and I think that extra year is just to bring the dollar number down, like the amount down. But I'm okay with that because Mrazek's 2 years younger than Freddie, so. And I don't think at this point Kyle really cares about the last 2 years of that contract. I think he's really more focused on this year.
It's this year. He doesn't. I think what's going to happen is you're either going to see weird signings, weird trades, or something that's just going to happen. Like, it's going to be for this year that he's going to be worried about, because right now, like he said, it's this year or never again.
You think this guy's like a starting goalie? You think he's like a
Mrazek?
Yeah, like a bona fide. Like, are we comfortable going into the season with Jack Campbell and this guy? Like, I don't know.
We are. Peter Mrazek he's been like a lifelong tandem goalie, so like a 1B type thing.
Right.
And so you've got Jack Campbell, who just played out of his mind last season.
He was great.
And then, like, I can go through these numbers again. Hold on, let me just pull this up. His Mrazek's statistics over his career. So when he was playing in Detroit, he had a 922. This is starting from the 12-13 season. He had a 922 save percentage, then a 927, a 918, a 921, a 901. Watch out. Then he had a 9.10. Then he had a terrible year in Philly with an 8.91, but then he brought it back up in Carolina. Now, when he started playing in Carolina, he played consistently 40 games the first two seasons with a 9.14 and a 9.05, and then he got a 9.23 last season, splitting the net with Reimer. So he's got very good statistics. I believe that or at least they're salvageable. He's got a decent save percentage for the last 3 years that he's played as a tandem with Reimer, and his goals against isn't above 3. So I believe he's a really good goaltender. He'll be really decent for the next, for at least this year, as a tandem goalie with Campbell. I said something about it on Twitter too. Mrazek is just really good insurance, but also a great tandem for the Leafs now with Campbell.
Yeah, as long as he can hold his own and our defense can keep as many pucks out of the, out of the net as possible, then I think maybe this is a good 1-2 punch. Because I don't know how the 905 kind of scares me. It's kind of low at 40 games, but then again, I don't know. Their defense in Carolina doesn't seem like anything crazy.
In 2014-2015, Vasilevsky was a 0.95, if I'm not mistaken, in the playoffs. I wouldn't really worry too much.
Yeah, and that's the other thing too, is Mrazek played 5 games that same season that you're worried about the 905.
Mm-hmm.
Played 5 games in the playoffs and busted a 929 save percentage.
See, that's better. I like that.
And then I know he got the Carolina. I don't think he played much. He only played 2 games in the playoffs this year for Carolina. And I think those were just like... Who did they play against this year? I can't even remember.
Yeah, I can't remember.
I know they played Pittsburgh, and I think they knocked out Pittsburgh.
Oh, who was it? Oh my god.
Yeah, and then they played the Islanders the second. They played Pittsburgh and then the Islanders, and then Islanders played Tampa, and then Tampa played Montreal. At least I think that's what happened. But again, he's a decent 1-2 punch behind Campbell, and that's all I care about at this point.
Interesting.
Yeah, I mean, if he keeps the 9.923 there, then
I am perfectly content with a 9.05 when Freddie Anderson posted an 8.95 last season.
Yeah, I guess. What was Campbell's numbers last year?
Unreal.
Yeah, that's pretty good. 0.934 in the playoffs. What a stud. Oh my god.
Yo, he had the best season, like, out of all the goalies, other than Vasilevsky, he had the second best save percentage. And
Yeah.
I think the best goals against average, actually, in the playoffs. Only played 7 games, but he was unreal.
Yeah, he was like dynamite, that guy. I think he's the reason why we were up 3-1. And then the rest of everybody else is because of the reason why we blew with 3-1.
That's what I mean, is like the offense wasn't there. The defense wasn't the problem. The goaltending wasn't the problem. And even then, the game before Muzzin was out, Muzzin scored 2 goals to tie it up and send us to overtime.
Yeah. Yeah,
So,
we came back from down 3 and then down 2, force overtime, which we dominated both times.
in that second overtime, we
Yeah.
dominated for 15 minutes, but apparently it goes back, and then we all know what happened.
Yeah. What a joke. It still makes me pissed off. Fucking. But I am excited about Toronto signing or getting Ho-Sang to a PTO.
I saw that, yeah. It was
I am
definitely something that'll...
Pumped for this. You have no idea. I'm such a huge fan of this kid. I think, with him sleeping through his alarm in training camp, that was basically the end of it. Lou Lamoriello says, "Yeah, that's not happening. You're done," and basically had him handcuffed to the Islanders and had real hard problems there. But if this kid gets a legit chance on this team, I really believe that he's gonna tear it up. Like
Yeah, I
if
believe that if like here's the thing, if we can't get Alex Galchenyuk, I'm perfectly content with getting Ho-Sang on the team. Because then at least I feel like he can at least slot into that first line left wing and be fine.
oh
Fill that
yeah,
gap.
it'd be nuts. And like he's really skilled. You know, he's fast. Like he just has that playmaking style to him, which you know, this is what
I
basically
wonder
this
why they
team
only
is.
have him as PTO though. Is it because that he slept through
No, no, no. So
his
the
alarm?
professional tryout, like they don't need to properly sign him, but we kind of have his rights now. So like he can't go sign with another team, but he can at least work out with the team, try out, and like practice with the team. And then once he practices and everything, and if they see if he's up to speed, then we'll either sign him on or we'll just send him back to free agency.
So does he like? Can he make it? Like if he makes it through camp, he can.
If he makes it through camp, he can sign on with the team, and then he'll actually
Okay.
slot into the team.
Yeah, which will only be like a league minimum. Like it won't
Yeah.
be anything over a mil. But they just want to take a look at him because of his history or whatever. They want to make sure that he's committed. He's professional. He's coming in to do the job.
Make sure he's taking it seriously.
Yeah,
So
exactly.
is he fighting for a spot like the non-rosters are in the camp?
Basically, yeah.
So
Yeah,
he has to compete against your guys' forwards non-roster.
but I
Yeah.
literally jumped this guy over a lot of like half of this roster right now. Like he's an easy slot
The
for me.
the main
There's-
roster.
Oh
The
yeah.
main roster.
Oh yeah. I put him in over Mikheyev any day of the week.
Absolutely.
Any day of the week. Like
So the issue then with him and the Islanders was just for the fact that he slept through his alarm.
yeah, Lou Lamoriello's a very old school type of guy. Short hair, clean shaven. You're not talking to the media like. If you remember when Matthews, Marner, and Nylander in their like first years here, Lou didn't want them talking to the media because he didn't want to distract them. Like he's very like any of the Islanders. You'll never see the Islanders going on to podcast interviews like any media type thing like that because Lou doesn't want that. Like he doesn't want any distractions. He's very strict on certain things. So when he missed his alarm, Lou took that as a big no and basically cut ties with the kid. I mean, really never got a shot ever since. But I remember reading an article saying that he's ready for a fresh start. He said even if he has to start in the AHL, he'll do it. He just wants to get a fresh start somewhere else. Like he doesn't want to be with obviously with the Islanders because of how they treated him, but he definitely wants a fresh start, and I truly believe it. And he went to overseas there to play after the shutdown, but since he was shut down for so long and hasn't been playing, he didn't get to play like I don't know like most of the time because they had guys ready who've been playing throughout the year. So for him to come back and get into camp, work out with our staff and stuff like that, I think that he's going to get to know everybody, know how the system goes, and get a real good look at here in camp. I'm so excited.
Yeah, it definitely sounds like you are. I mean, I would definitely love to see Toronto Maple Leafs excel.
Yeah.
But I feel like there's definitely something has to change. Something has to shake up the Leafs.
Yeah,
Um,
we need to have some players that are fighting, that are actually fighting, that are actually ready to work hard. And you know what? I feel like if you have this guy come up and he's like really fighting to work and get his spot back in the league, then definitely he could slide perfect. Again, as I said, I think he could slide right into that first line left wing slot
Yeah.
and be a good player on this team.
Yeah, he could be really
I,
effective, I think.
I just hope that it's not the same situation that Taylor brought up with Kadri, where he feels like it's just him trying his ass off.
Yeah.
So hopefully something kind of, like I said, shakes them up during this camp.
Yeah.
Maybe maybe Kyle Dubas goes up to them and says, you know what, I'll give you guys more money. All you got to do is win. Prove it.
Yeah.
Yeah.
But I think we're gonna end the conversation there. I want to end it on a little bit of a high note. The last episode, I kind of gave a story about my MacBook Pro situation. I'm not going to continue that one, but I am going to give you guys another kind of situation. So I recently have been trying to eat, considerably better. I'm really focused on getting my health at a level where I can be comfortable and whatnot, and I feel like I'm doing fairly well. I started seeing this girl though, and I noticed, things were starting to go downhill. So there was just one day where I said, you know what, hey, like let's just stop eating horrible food. Let's just try to eat better. So I made an Uber Eats order, okay, and like I said, me and this girl have been eating very poorly whenever we're together. We're pretty much together now, like all the time. And so I just want to say, this is what I end up getting. Okay, I got plain spinach kind of salad, like a mix in that little plastic container. Tomatoes, onions, green beans, strawberries, blueberries, oranges, bananas, rice, eggs, milk. Lunch meat like ham, salami, and roast beef, chicken breast, and then like salmon steaks in a case of water. So that's what I got. Okay. It's pretty much what I eat every day. But like I said, whenever I was with her, I ate like a garbage can, eating things I don't even like because it was all that was around me. So so I'm reading this right off my phone. It was actually hilarious, the stuff that I ended up having to purchase. I before I put the Uber Eats grocery order in, I gave her my phone. I just I got the phone back. I didn't even look at it, which is my fault. Hindsight 2020. I should have checked, but I didn't. Okay, I didn't. And I just hit, let's go. Let's get the ball rolling. Buddy shows up. And this is like I said, I'm reading this right off my phone right now. And I do want to point out, I told her, keep in mind, we are primarily looking for dinner items or stuff for dinner. Hands me back the phone, and like I said, hindsight 2020, didn't check it. So yeah, this is the food that is hers that shows up. And again, I'm reading this off of my phone. Mini jelly candies. Little Debbie honey buns. The biggest bag of Jolly Ranchers I have ever seen in my life. Okay? Sour gummy worms. Giraldi chocolate squares with white chocolate and caramel. Nabisco Classic Variety Pack with Oreo Minis, Chips Ahoy Minis, Ritz Bits cheese sandwiches, Ritz Bits peanut butter sandwiches. Another box of Ritz Bits peanut butter sandwiches. Sour peaches, fruit by the foot, cut up mango, the Betty Crocker Minions fruit snacks, Kraft Singles, mini blueberry muffins, double stuffed Oreos, sliced ham, Rolo chewy caramels and milk chocolate, Sour Patch Kids soft and chewy family size. We are not done. Chips Ahoy original chocolate chip. Fucking English goddamn muffins. 12 Lunchables. Delicio pizza. Doritos nacho cheese. Sweet fish gummy candies. Betty Crocker fruit snacks, fruit gushers, fruit by the foot, and fruit roll-ups. And last but not least, 14 fucking packs of goldfish. Okay? This is what I'm dealing with. On top of Corey Perry coming onto my team, this is what I got to deal with. I said primarily dinner items. But with that being said, guys,
Well,
It's been a hell of an episode. Sorry, what were you
I'm
gonna say?
I'm kind of glad she got the pre-cut mangoes in there. I mean, that's healthy.
Yeah.
Yeah.
But with that being said, guys, it's been a hell of a pleasure. Thank you guys so much for the love recently with the little bit of subscribers we've been getting, the views, the likes. I really appreciate it. Keep your head up and your stick on